Hello, my name is Agnieszka Pikulicka-Wilczewska and this is Turan Tales, a podcast about Central Asia. It delves into stories of people, politics, social change and more, and is part of my newsletter which you can support on Substack. Welcome and be my guest in the journey to Central Asia. Hi listeners. Turan Tales is back after a long month of much-needed summer break. Hope you missed me. While the newsletter was resting, I wasn't. I've been working on a new format and even moved to Kazakhstan, which I'm very happy about because it means more in-depth stories from the region. I also have an announcement to make. My newsletter, so Turan Tales, has been selected to join the new media incubator program run by the International Press Institute. As part of the program, we received a grant to develop a new product, immersive audio stories, an upgrade on our long reads. I will soon share the first results of our work with you. But meanwhile, I would like to remind you that you can support Turan Tales with a paid subscription. Just go to turantales.substack.com/subscribe and choose your plan. Thanks to your support, we will be able to continue our work after the grant ends. Now, I would like to invite you to this week's long read. The Girl with the Seals. A fight for the Caspian's last mammals. In late April, westerly winds carried a grim cargo to the shores of Mangistau, Kazakhstan's westernmost region. By dawn, the carcasses of 88 Caspian seals lay scattered along the beach in Tubkaragan district. They had arrived in an advanced state of decomposition. 2 decades for scientists to determine the cause of death. Assel Baimukanova, a researcher at the Institute of Hydrobiology and Ecology in Kazakhstan, knows this scene well. Since 2014, she has studied the Caspian seal in its natural habitat, and examining carcasses has become part of her job. It was hard at first, she admits, but that is the nature of working in the wild. She can now recognize the presence of a decomposing seal by scent alone. A heavy, stuffy odor, laced with a cloying sweetness. In recent years, the deaths have become more frequent. We used to go on mortality monitoring missions once a year in spring. Seals who died at various times of the year on the ice would be brought by western storm winds to Tubkaragan at different stages of decomposition, she says. Autumn mortality began in 2022. That year, 10,000 carcasses were found on Dagestan's shores. Ever since, we have been organizing mortality monitoring twice a year. The International Union for Conservation of Nature placed the Caspian seal on its red list of endangered species back in 2008. According to the organization's estimates, since the beginning of the 20th century, when the population of the Caspian seal totaled around 1 million individuals, it has declined by more than 90%, to fewer than 100,000 today. The Caspian Sea is the seal's only natural habitat, and it is the only marine mammal in the entire region. The rising mortality signals deeper trouble in the ecosystem itself. Seals are an indicator species. As the largest marine inhabitant of the Caspian, they reflect what is happening in the sea. They are a signal. Their deaths are an alarm bell for all of us. We don't know what will happen when the seals disappear, Baimukanova told Turan Tales. In June 2025, Kazakhstan's Ministry of Agriculture reported that analysis of seal mortality since 2022 point to several causes. The first is disease, including outbreaks of canine distemper virus, acute pneumonia, and neuroviral infections, all exacerbated by weakened immunity. Second, some seals died from asphyxia, caused by natural gas releases from the seafloor. Finally, many suffer from chronic toxicosis, likely linked to pollution. The Caspian Sea, the world's largest inland body of water, is bordered by Russia, Kazakhstan, Azerbaijan, Iran, and Turkmenistan. all 5 states are resource-dependent, with weak civil societies and limited transparency, and where environmental concerns rarely outweighed economic interests. Salty but landlocked, the Caspian Sea has no outlet to the ocean. This means pollutants that enter its waters will remain there indefinitely. More than 80% of its inflow comes from the Volga River, Russia's main waterway, which supports the country's large heavy industry and agriculture. Much of the chemical waste it carries ends up in the Caspian, which has no natural means of cleansing itself. Importantly, the Caspian Sea holds 48 billion barrels of oil and 229 trillion cubic meters of natural gas. Its Kashagan field, located about 80 kilometers offshore from Atirau, is one of the world's largest. Since 1997, it has been managed by the North Caspian Operating Company, a consortium that includes Kazakhstan's Kazmunaygas, Italy's Eni, America's ExxonMobil, Britain's Shell, and other companies. In 2023, Kazakhstan's Ministry of Ecology sued the consortium over alleged violations of environmental regulations. The case remains ongoing. Meanwhile, activist groups like Save the Caspian Sea regularly report gas leaks and oil spills. Between 2023 and June 2025, the organization recorded 451 slicks in the northern and central Caspian. Shipping is also a frequent source of oil contamination. Seals are very unlucky. They live in a closed body of water, and the Caspian Sea is a receiver of all pollutants. This greatly affects barrenness, the ability of females to reproduce. Then immunity falls, and they get sick with various diseases, Baimukanova says. Scientists and activists agree that the unnaturally high mortality among Caspian seals is also connected to a far greater looming catastrophe: the Caspian's rapid shrinkage, which erodes the entire ecosystem. Water levels have been falling since the mid-1990s, and today the sea stands at its lowest recorded level, 29 meters below sea level. A study published in Nature in April 2025 warned that the Caspian could drop by as much as 80 meters this century, losing up to 34% of its surface area. But even a decline of 5 to 10 meters would devastate key habitats for seals and sturgeon. The northeastern sector of the basin along Kazakhstan's coast is the shallowest and therefore the most vulnerable. Unlike most seas, which expand under climate change, the Caspian is shrinking. According to a report by the United Nations Environment Programme, high evaporation rates contribute to the Caspian Sea desiccation. The situation is further worsened by the numerous dams and reservoirs built on the Volga River in Russia, which reduce the amount of water entering the sea. Caspian seals rely on the ice in the northern part of the Caspian to breed, and pups stay there until they can swim. But in recent years, ice cover has diminished. The drop in sea level has pushed seals closer to the northern part of the Caspian Sea. Entire islands that were previously inhabited by seals are disappearing, Baimukanova explains. Her concern for seals is deeply personal. She grew up on the shores of Lake Markakol in eastern Kazakhstan, where her father, a wildlife scientist, studied fish in a natural reserve. He helped her feel part of the natural world. Every element of that ecosystem was unique to me, she recalls. It felt like a miracle. I understood early on that we are all connected, that we live together. Nature's grandeur made me feel small, yet privileged to be part of it. Baimukanova recalls that when she was in the 6th grade, her father told her never to go into science, because it is the hardest job in the world. You will always be ignored, not listened to, your knowledge dismissed. This is a very difficult path, she remembers him saying. At that time, in the early 2000s, he was just beginning to study the Caspian Sea, and he has never strayed from that path. Assel always wanted to follow in her father's footsteps, but she initially took a different path. She finally joined him at the age of 23, amid an existential crisis. At first, she recorded the team's work on camera. With time, she became more involved in the research. Ever since, several times a year, she packs her bags, a tent, and a provisional field kitchen for her team, and they head into the wild to study the Caspian seals. She wakes up at 3 a.m. to prepare before the team of 5 sets out to the furthest possible point. She usually takes a long hot shower beforehand, knowing it will be her last for weeks. It's always hard in the field. You miss home. But after a few months back in the city, you want to leave again. It's a strange kind of romanticism, to live at the mercy of the elements. It teaches you resilience, she says. The 2017 expedition left a lasting impression on her. 365 carcasses were recorded, though many more were believed to have washed ashore. When you're young and face such a tragedy, under media scrutiny and public accusations of hiding mortality numbers, you ask yourself, why am I here? Why am I doing this? She recalls. I love seals. To see them vanish is painful. But then my father told me, I need you on the team. A year later, she enrolled in ecology at the Al-Farabi Kazakh National University, specializing in animal behavior. If you want to preserve a species, you must study both, its life and its death, she says. Walking the beach in Aktau on a spring day can feel serene. The sea is calm. Teenagers wrestle with waves and the horizon stretches wide. Yet, locals point to where the shorelines once lay, 100 to 200 meters closer. In some places, the retreat measures kilometers. Stones once covered by the sea and used as diving platforms now sit surrounded by grass. For Aktau's residents, the sea's desiccation needs no proof. Caspi, as locals call it, provides drinking water and power through desalination plants. And it is dying. This past April, one of Kazakhstan's elite Nazarbayev intellectual schools hosted an environmental conference in Aktau. Students presented projects on the dying Caspian Sea, its seals and sturgeon, while experts and activists debated solutions. All agreed. The Caspian faces a catastrophe, one that could rival or surpass the collapse of the Aral Sea, another inland body of water shared by Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan, a lake the authorities failed to save. This time, action is needed now. The sea is not only an ecological treasure, but also an economic lifeline. Kashagan's oil fuels global energy markets and Kazakhstan's budget. The Caspian is also central to the Middle Corridor, a trade route connecting China and the rest of Asia with Europe, bypassing Russia. From China, goods cross Kazakhstan by rail to Aktau ports, where cargo is transferred to vessels that cross the Caspian Sea to the port of Baku. Then they continue to Europe via Georgia and Turkey. According to the World Bank, by 2030, cargo transported through the Middle Corridor could reach 11 million tons, of which 4 million tons will require container transport across the Caspian. In April 2025, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen pledged €12 billion in investments to Central Asia under the EU Global Gateway Initiative, prioritizing transport corridors, critical minerals, and green energy. But with the Caspian losing water, ships may not be able to travel between its different shores. The region's long-awaited connectivity project could fail, and with it, a major transregional development plan. The Caspian Sea is both a source of wealth and the foundation of development. That is why, on 8 September, in his annual address to the nation, Kazakhstan's President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev devoted parts of his speech to the Caspian's fate. Citizens are expressing concern over the declining level of the Caspian Sea. If appropriate measures are not taken, the situation may worsen, even leading to a large-scale environmental catastrophe. Therefore, at the recent extended meeting of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization in China, I specifically addressed this problem and put forward an initiative to establish an SCO Water Issues Research Center, the president said. The condition of the Caspian Sea concerns not just the fate of one country, but of the entire region. Therefore, the issue can only be resolved through joint efforts. The government should begin developing an interstate program for preserving the Caspian Sea's water resources in coordination with partners, the president added. Tokayev also called for an easing and digitalizing of freight procedures, which would increase Kazakhstan's connectivity, a long overdue improvement in the era of the Middle Corridor. The operability of Caspian ports is critical for the region and its partners. Yet, as connectivity expands, so too will pollution and water evaporation. Conservation efforts remain fragile. Right now, the government is creating a natural reserve to preserve the Caspian seal's feeding grounds, something we have long proposed. There is also a plan to create a seal rehabilitation center and a natural reserve, Baimukanova says. This year, Kazakhstan's president also announced an initiative to create a foundation to preserve biodiversity, which will include the seals. This is good news. We need more data. It is crucial for the survivor. And it is our responsibility. That's it for today. Thank you for listening, and please subscribe to Turan Tales on Substack. I look forward to meeting you there and on my newsletter's social media.
Baba,